suck it.
You breaking the rules, JJ. You're not supposed to buy week 1. Both of you are breaking the rules.
I was going to say, did I set a bad precedent?
Yeah. This is not how we do things on this podcast.
This is the way.
Yeah, this is the way.
You can't break down now, you guys, because we finally hit probably not our 200th episode, but this one will be episode number 200 of We Were Gamers, a podcast with Michael.
This is the perfect time for a course correction.
Oh, what? Is that your new tagline? Please tell me that's not the intro every time before JJ.
No.
Oh, hello.
That's a better one. I like that one. That has a 1990s turnaround into the camera vibe.
I was just gonna say it's the sitcom throw your hair over your shoulder and look backwards into the camera line.
I didn't see you guys there.
Yeah. I'm Andy. We've done this podcast a bunch of times. We get to put a big number on it today, you guys. Congratulations.
We did it.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah. We did it. Thank you to the people that listened to all of them. Because there are some, I know. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate it. And, a lot of people do special stuff for their big numbers. But we figured more of the same.
You came here for this. Why should we deny you what you want?
I don't know.
Same thing we were giving you before.
I don't know if I started recording in time, but I am somewhat concerned that we've been going so long that you guys are breaking the rules because you feel entitled. Like you got 200 episodes under your belt. You don't have to. You don't have to stick to the principles we've set forth in this podcast. JJ, what did you just buy day one?
I bought The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Yeah.
Is there a subtitle
PC?
for that?
No, that's the whole title.
Oh. All right. But you're not playing it?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm still in the middle of playing Trails from Zero, the fan translation, which we talked about on the podcast a while back. I'm in Chapter 2. I'm in that part where you wander around the city and talk to all the NPCs to see how their story changed from the last time you wandered around the city and talked to all the NPCs.
Yep, that's a great boat to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This kid is he's trying to go to school, and he was failing the test, and now he's studying real hard. That's what's happening with him.
Huh.
Yeah. These kids like my police dog. That's pretty cool.
Police dog?
Yeah.
Are you a
I'm
cop?
Like a police. Yeah, in this one, you're kind of a cop. Kind of a cop?
Oh, JJ.
Kind of.
Oh, no.
Not a very good cop.
I think you're only allowed to be a cop if it's the apocalypse. Right? That seems to be the way we've trended.
This is you are looked down on by the rest of the police department.
I see. So when you said a bad cop, you didn't mean like a bad cop. You meant like
no. There are lots of bad.
You're not a good cop.
There are lots of bad cops, but the proper police don't like you very much.
The proper police,
because you
like
are
my grandmother.
You're too busy. You're too busy helping people and not busy enough taking bribes.
Oh, so you're playing Yakuza? No.
With sprite graphics.
Okay. The Legend of Zero Trails from Cold Mana.
You're not even trying, man. Come on.
Okay. All right. I stand before you humbled today.
Oh.
I feel like Captain Ahab a little bit, but maybe maybe one that's learning his lesson before this ship goes down.
Is this the part where you we make a quote about a Star Trek movie and saying you had to go hunt that whale or whatever, and then you read the quote from Moby Dick to me, and then I go, I never read it.
I could have stood in my garage and yelled "This far, no farther," and it would have made a lot of sense.
The line must be drawn here.
As I cleaned up more water out of my garage.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Fun story. There's like a part of your brain, I assume it's the amygdala, but I'm no scientist, that tells you when things are danger or you're in trouble. So this morning at 5 a.m., I awoke in a start thinking I needed to grab my bat and defend the household. What my brain was really telling me was, hey man, it's raining quite a bit. You should probably go check the garage. To which I discovered that the drain that is poorly placed, but also keeps water from generally going in the garage, had plugged up because the rain was coming down so fast it washed everything in the yard into it. I thought to myself, amygdala, you're a hero. Cleaned it out and went back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It leaked anyway.
Guessing the story doesn't end there.
There's water in my garage there. A little bit, not a lot of it. And there's also water coming in from somewhere entirely new. It's like, so I compare myself to Ahab a little bit because I chased that whale and I harpooned it. I cleaned that roof off and we did a whole new roof. And now it doesn't leak from there. The problems have just moved to the sides.
Tear it all down and start over.
It's almost not an attached garage. You could get away with it, maybe. Ugh. I'm exhausted. Anyway, I didn't get to finish the Castlevania that we were planning to talk about today, buddy. Sorry.
That's okay. That show has been great. I have
heard mixed things, actually, and
okay, here's...
okay, yeah, go.
Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, of the stuff that you've watched, right? You're on like episode 7 or 8 or near the end, but not at the end?
I'm deepish in. And there's a turn that's happening with Isaac.
Okay.
That's taking him from being, let's say, a man of purpose to maybe not a man I can see coming here.
Well, you'll just have to see where that goes.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is that I think this season was a great middle season for a show that had its end season last season.
Because I'm having an issue mostly with the fact that the 3 main characters are not together.
Right.
That was like the best part of last season, aside from the fact that last season was super trim, tight, and had a point, right? Like, they did the thing.
There was an end goal. They marched towards the end goal the entire time, and then they got to the end goal, and they did the thing, and it was rad.
Yep.
Yeah, this season, not as much.
Yeah. It's just sort of sad. Like, come on. Put the characters together.
Yeah,
it's like
it's a lot
Lost
of...
got in the middle, too, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, it definitely a lot of individual storylines that I think are interesting of themselves, but it's hard to see how they intersect from here.
Okay.
The problem was the last season, right? All these little individual story threads that they started in the first season all wrapped up with a bow real nice at the end.
Do you, having finished it, it's not really a spoiler to say, do you feel like this is another set of open threads to ramp up and finish next season? So we'll have like a bunch of 2-season arcs, like the first 2 are good.
There's a bunch of stuff that is not resolved at the end.
All right, so like the whole army thing probably is.
I don't want to tell you what is or isn't resolved, but there are resolutions, but not everything is resolved for sure.
Okay.
Whereas I felt at the end of season 2, like, what do you even do after this? They resolved everything. I thought.
Okay, maybe there's just the chance that these are going to be 2 season arcs each time. And then
so you get a season of conflict, and then a season of resolution, and then another repeat.
It could be. It certainly could be. The way I enjoyed certain characters' plots much more than certain other ones. Yeah, and not just because of how they're resolved.
I'm already
just because some of them felt like, hey, we're not doing anything here. So it will be interesting to see what they. I assume they're doing another season. I don't know. But I overall, I think I enjoyed it pretty well. Yeah, we'll talk about it more when you see the ending, and then have more to say about that.
Okay. All right. Netflix though, killing it with not just Castlevania. Would you guys like to talk about The Witcher?
I would very much like that.
I'd love to hear about it.
Michael, are you sure?
Lay it on me.
Michael,
Be specific.
think about what you're saying here. Okay? The show is enjoyable, but we could ruin some things.
Yeah, I'm willing to accept that.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Everything that we will talk about for the next 15 to 20 minutes is likely a spoiler, and it's not our fault. It's how they organized the show.
Yeah, so this is the thing that I wish they had just come out and said from the start.
Can I be I'm fight you right at the beginning. I'm glad I didn't know.
You think it's better this way?
I'm
that
glad
everyone
I
is
didn't
confused
know.
the whole time?
I was confused the whole time.
Did you have to read an article to figure it out?
I got it. I got it
Okay.
by episode 3 or 4, and then I went back and I was like, "Oh, this is just here the whole time."
Yeah, so if you know going in, it totally makes sense.
Yep.
If you don't know going in,
Yep.
it's kind of disjoint and confusing, but
It's
you're like, all right, they're
absolutely
telling these
confusing.
separate things.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you get to a certain point in the story, then you're like, oh.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, like,
Yep. Okay, Michael.
here you go.
So I think before you guys even start, I think I might have already had this
Guess.
spoiled for me.
Oh, okay. Tell us what you think it is.
You're talking about timelines, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So this was already kind of spoiled for me. So
Okay, good.
So I
This
think
is
that having
honestly
this
the biggest
spoiled,
spoiler of the show. What's bigger than the fact that not
okay.
everybody's in the same time?
I guess the fact that the timelines do eventually meet up.
Okay, yeah. I guess it's the biggest spoiler because of how you find out where things
At the
are.
very end.
At the very end, you're like, because it all clicks, right? It's
Right,
like,
yeah.
Michael, it's like you have 3, well, you start with 4, which eventually very quickly become 3 separate
Right.
timelines.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like almost immediately 3, but it's
Okay.
technically 4.
That fourth person doesn't last long.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the threads are weaved together each episode so that you could, if you knew at the beginning, find out that they're not at the same time. So we meet our initial, one of our 2 main, I guess, or 3 main characters at the very beginning, whose name is Ciri, and she's a
Right.
princess. And she's very important to the show. She's kind of weirdly the MacGuffin, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
She has some sort of, they've called it primal power. It's like jargon to me.
Does she answer any question you ask her?
I'm sure she would. She seems she's an aristocrat who knows it all. You know what I mean?
She's definitely. She's the
He made a
princess who
reference I don't
snuck out.
get. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't get it either.
It was a phone joke.
See, because it's spelled Ciri, so I didn't get it.
Yeah. See that? I don't know.
She definitely was the kind of princess who would sneak out of the castle to go play with the local street urchins, but the street urchins also knew she was a princess and then let her win at the games. So
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
that kind of a princess, you know.
Raised by her grandmother, so super spoiled. So
Of course.
you find out that they're in like one of the biggest kingdoms in the north, and they're in a spot of trouble with a kingdom in the south. And over the first episode, as we jump between that timeline and Geralt, the main character's timeline, who starts the furthest in the past, maybe?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Categorically, he does. Yeah.
Categorically furthest in the past. All right. If you are paying attention, there are premonitions given to him by one of the characters that you can tell. She says something like, I should have been a queen or something, and Calanthe, who is the grandmother of Ciri, is just winning her first battles at like 14, and you're like, wait, but Calanthe is like 65. So what are we talking about here?
Got it.
JJ, I have a question for you before we get further.
Yeah.
You've played the games.
Mm-hmm. I've also read a couple of the books.
This classification thing of people as monsters, Michael, Witchers are monster hunters, yes, in general?
Right, yeah.
They classify the first person he aces in this show as the second, I guess. He kills something in a swamp as an introduction, and then kills a person. And they define this person as a quote-unquote monster. I couldn't tell if they were being facetious, or not facetious, but metaphoric, because she was causing so much damage, but she also seemed to have mutated powers of some kind. So what's the deal with that? Is that like a thing?
Okay, you're talking about, what's her name? The red-haired lady. She had a name.
The short-haired woman that causes all the problems in the first episode.
And he ambushes her in the woods later, right?
She ambushes him in the woods later.
Okay, yeah.
Puts him under his spell, and then he keeps her brooch the whole show.
Right. So that they talked about the what was it? The blood moon.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And these people, these girls specifically, I think, that were born under the blood moon had this curse.
Stregobor kills them all.
Right. Because he believes that one of them is going to fulfill this ancient curse or whatever and kill all the wizards or something.
But the wizards didn't seem to believe it. They all sort of like roll their eyes at Stregobor.
Right. Well, obviously, as we later find out, all the wizards are kind of up to their own thing on the side, really, and no one is necessarily like actually coordinating with each other as much as it may seem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Stregobor clearly believes in it. He goes around murdering a bunch of babies and stuff. So, got to be pretty serious.
So you see, Michael, this is this type of show that we're talking about.
Yeah. Catching up.
But in this case, right, the discussion is that like Stregobor. So again, you wouldn't know this at the time, but later he says, "I cut them open and they were mutated inside. Like they weren't just humans, despite looking like humans, right?"
Okay. So I didn't. He mentions that like not like a euphemism. That's the wrong word. But like, I didn't know if he was being exaggerative. Like, oh, they're mutated. Like you, Witcher. Well, the Witcher's like not exactly human, but no one's gonna go around murdering Witchers because they're mutated.
Well, actually, though, there are a lot of people who shun Witchers because they are mutants, and they think the mutants are weird and scary and not to be trusted.
Okay.
For the same reason that these witch-like women and stuff are, these children born under this moon were not to be trusted for the same reasons. And not because. So it's harder to get this from the show. But in the books and in the games, there's a ton of like rural kind of hill folky townsfolk stuff where they're just like, you're an outsider. We don't even want to talk with you. We put up with the Witchers because you perform useful services to us, like killing all these monsters that we can't kill. But we are you're not our friend. We don't want you here. Like, don't look at my daughter. Don't say hi to us. Like, here's your money. Go away. And they don't do as much of that in the show as it happens in the other media. So, but that world is very much like little communities of like rural villages and stuff. And yeah, like the big courts and stuff are way less that way. The dwarves and the humans and elves will talk together up there. But like, down in the rural village, like no one likes witchers or witches or sorceresses or any of that stuff. Unless you're the one that lives in their village, they don't want to see you.
Got it. Did Henry Cavill's voice grow on you as much as it did on me?
Oh, yeah. By the end, I was like, yes. I truly, the first episode, I was like, oh, no, I don't know about this at all, you guys.
He does that affectation. I'm sure you've heard it by now, Michael. Yes. It's from the game affectation where it's just like, brr, brr, brr.
how much gravel can I gargle while saying these words?
Yeah. It's pretty good, though. By the end, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I don't.
So what did you think? Oh, go ahead.
I just don't know. Should we run through the plot? I don't know what we should do here. I don't know if this is a whole recap, but like I feel like we're leaving Michael in the wind a little bit on understanding what we liked, because I'm just gonna hands down say I liked this quite a bit.
Yeah, it was great. I had a super fun time watching it.
I have notes. I have 2 notes. One,
okay,
if they continue in the direction they're headed, willingness to do what they did in that last episode and ace a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to go. It might be better than Game of Thrones in the long run if they can keep it up. The show, maybe not the books.
I truly wonder how many seasons they have in them at the rate they burn through story. Right?
It doesn't need to be long. This doesn't need to be 8 seasons.
Yeah, so that's my point, is that like I don't think you can get a Game of Thrones level story out of this tale.
Sure.
I don't think there's enough story there.
Ciri eventually grows up, right?
And, man, I haven't read that far in the books. I don't know.
Okay.
In the
Based
video
on
game...
the video games and the card game, there are versions of Ciri that have like gray hair and scars all over them.
Yeah, so she trains as a Witcher in the games. I don't know if that's in the books.
We'll see. That was note number 1. I think it could be good. I think you're right. Maybe they need to keep it tight like it is now. Not longer, right?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And 2, I have noticed why a lot of people don't like fantasy while watching this show.
Okay.
Because growing up having read a lot of high fantasy, maybe, it's somewhat expected of one reading them to memorize weird names.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of that.
And this show is just every single place and person and everything is an impossible name.
But he's the Butcher of Blaviken and also Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah.
And he's
the White
from...
Wolf. And
yeah.
And also memorize these 5 kingdoms that you've never seen a map of and where they could possibly be in relation to each other. When I say,
what's fun?
They've crossed this pass with a name that I still can't even remember. And also the Elven King. And also, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's fun that even after playing the games, I think I played The Witcher 3 for like over 100 hours.
Which is amazing for you because you don't like that type of game.
No, I truly don't. That game is so good, though. There's so much open world stuff I hate about that game, but everything else in it is so good.
I spent 100 hours doing mostly the stuff I hate because
no. The thing is that there is so much that isn't that open world stuff that sucks. That's the thing that's impressive.
Wow.
Anyway, the game is good. The thing I couldn't tell you is I played 100 hours. I looked at the map a lot out of necessity. I couldn't tell you where any of those kingdoms are in relation to each other. The books don't do a good job of telling you it either.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Hey, you're in this kingdom and this other kingdom is invading. They're bad. You can tell they're bad because their armor is black.
I think, though, that's where their armor is ridiculous. Hold on, Michael.
How evil bad guy do they look, Andrew?
Michael, design for me with words. You know it's black, right?
Yeah.
Head to toe, design for me your most evil medieval armor set. What would be in those areas? Like, what would you be wearing?
Okay, let's see. What do you have to have? You have to have the like total face concealing helmet.
Got
right?
it. All right.
Yep.
Good.
Maybe spikes on the shoulder plates.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, spikes are good. Yep.
Spikes are good.
I'm gonna go with gauntlets that end in like dragon talons.
Oh wow, he's getting a little. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I like it. I like
There's some of it in there. Yeah.
What else? The boots that are like overly elaborate overlapping plates.
He's actually describing the game one really well. Like really,
I've
really
played-
well.
I've played enough of these kinds of games to be able to picture this in my head.
All
A
right.
giant sigil of the evil army on your chest, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay. So on the left in this picture is the one from the game, and on the right is the one from the show.
All right, let's take a look here.
Oh, is it not working? How come it didn't work?
You didn't
No.
paste the actual.
Oh.
You pasted something wrong here.
It doesn't have a file name for some reason on my desktop. Oh, this is good radio. Okay. It didn't have a file name. So
This is
Okay.
better.
look at those dragon winged helmets on the left there that you described.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah. It's perfect bad guy that you got. Then look what they did to it on the right.
They picked.
I mean,
They picked the like foot soldier idiot guy too, not the like evil bad guy who looks a little bit more like this.
It's-
But yeah, it's
What is the deal here? They like crumpled the armor like tinfoil,
yeah.
and then
I don't know what they
spray
were doing
painted
here.
it black.
They
no.
tried.
They really tried.
This one on the left looks expensive. I think that's what they did.
But yeah, your description perfectly captures the Nilfgaard bad guy thing.
You versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
Oh no. Oh no. Now we're gonna have to post this as our episode picture. JJ, I want to argue your point just for a second.
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't matter to you, me, and people that read Lord of the Rings 4 times, maybe. It does matter to the Game of Thrones spoon-fed crowd. And I mean that in the show sense, right?
Right, where they literally tell you everything that's happening.
That made that show very accessible. And maybe too accessible in a way that was kind of at the end of it, like, oh, I kind
But the last like
telegraphing
three,
a lot of this stuff here.
the last 3 seasons are basically garbage TV.
But
yeah,
the world of it was metered and described, and why people maybe like reading Martin so much, right? That you
sure.
you
And I think
get
the
a sense
books
of-
are still that way, right?
Yeah,
It's
they
just
absolutely are.
the issue is that the show eventually stopped following the books, and then
Mhm. But maybe
TV.
that's why those are so popular compared to maybe The Witcher a little bit, where
sure.
you're
Well,
left
there's
to
also a
fend for
language
yourself.
barrier there, right?
Sure.
You know, the Witcher was written in Polish. The author, it has been translated, but you know, anytime you translate a work, you lose something. I don't know what the something is, but you always lose something, right?
yeah. A few episodes later, the next episode, they introduce Yennefer,
Right.
Okay.
who is a mage, I think, not a wizard or a sorcerer, but
She is a sorceress.
sorceress.
They refer
She's
to
like
her
a
as that at some
sanctioned-
point.
So it seems like they've built this world to have like sanctioned and non-sanctioned magic people, basically. And she
Okay.
would,
Right.
she would be like a trained, sanctioned magic person. Of
So
course,
there's like a
magic can't-
guild, and
Yeah, exactly. Wizards Guild is exactly what she's a part of. They call it the Brotherhood, which is kind of dumb.
sure, but you know,
Well, it's kind of silly because like one of the top 2 people in charge of it is a woman. So why not rename it for the show at least?
Yeah, there's
The
a whole
guild
thing.
would have been better.
You learn a lot about that in the games. It's a whole thing. It's not good.
Okay.
And then there are like secret factions within that brotherhood. That like there's the Lodge, which isn't the same as the Brotherhood, even though they're all sorcerer type people. And this one is only women, and that one is only men, but they all are working together. It's a whole stupid thing. I'm happy they did this in the show and just kind of made it like these are the wizards. It's better.
Yeah. They're fractious. None of them really. They're held together by the idea that they've created a world order.
And that magic is dangerous, and if you don't train people to use it, it will eventually kill everyone.
And then
so
because they have magic, they should advise all the kings and keep everybody in line, basically.
and they use it as like political control, really. Like it's like, hey, we'll give you, Mr. King, this beautiful sorcerer or sorceress to your court who will then, advise you on the right and smart things to do secretly, which help us and don't maybe help you or not. Who cares? We're in charge.
Or as Yennefer puts it, settling petty squabbles for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
There's a really good storyline of her training. We don't need to get too into it, but she's kind of like a broken person beforehand. Arguably, she's still a broken person afterwards.
Definitely still broken person.
But there's this like power, like taking control of your destiny kind of moment, which is pretty good in her backstory.
Yeah, I thought her backstory was well done. And they hint at some of that and talk a little bit about it in the games, but not to this degree. So I liked this part a lot.
So I don't know if that's a show edition, but they did a good job. And they did a good job not saying like, and because she became beautiful and got what she wanted, everything was good.
Yeah, it turns out that doing that, like making a power move and using your beauty to get what you want and all this stuff doesn't always work out great in the end. Maybe in the short term, but in the long term,
And then, Michael, there's a 30-year time jump.
Well, yeah. Because why not?
Yeah. What's tough, and I had to explain to Katie, and I kind of got it from the game, is people don't age in the Witcher universe very much.
Right.
Well, so
some of them
Some
do.
of them, yeah.
Sorcerers and sorceresses can change their appearance, and so who knows how old any of them are.
Right. And also, like, the Witcher is basically immortal.
He has an extremely long life because he's a mutant, yeah.
So, and, like, other people like Calanthe and stuff, they don't look any older. So a lot of...
So I think that the issue is that it was, like, they say 30 years, but, Yennefer was, like, what? She was, like, a teenager or whatever, you know? And then she's, like, a woman, but is she, like, 40 or is she like 31?
It kind of doesn't matter for her.
It kind of doesn't matter, right?
It's more of keeping track of where this is where people started to get frustrated, I think.
They do the aging in order to make Ciri work, and not necessarily because it makes sense for the other characters.
Well, and then you have to start keeping track of where the kingdoms are at with who's fighting who and who likes who and who has power. And I think it's the stumbling block here happens when you're trying to keep track of that without knowing that all the timelines don't line up, because this is your first jump moment and you're like, wait, whose timelines then are we in when? But it's not explained yet exactly.
You then also get other glimpses into the mid-period on the other, in Calanthe's time, where you see her daughter and that knight.
Yep.
And that whole thing.
Dooney. Dooney,
Dooney.
the worst name ever for a character.
It's Dune with a mark over it, right?
Yeah.
It looks better in print than it does when you say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Her daughter, of course, has powers too.
You're right. She's like elfish or something, and has power.
Something's going on there.
Sorceress.
I don't know.
And the knight or whatever that she pledges herself to is like cursed to look like a hedgehog, basically.
Yeah, he does.
I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And what was the deal that
we get the first thing. This is like the big thing of the whole show, is that introduction. Michael, have you ever heard of something called the Law of Surprise?
No, I'm not familiar with this one.
I had never heard of it before either, but it is apparently a real thing.
That's a thing in this world, and maybe it's like a Slavic tradition or something.
It is apparently a real thing, yes.
Not a thing in Western culture, though, generally.
Okay.
So if you save somebody's life, instead of choosing a reward right at that moment, because that person may not have anything to give you, you can claim the Law of Surprise, and the idea is that which they have but don't know they have is yours. So, like, if you saved a dude's life on the Eastern Front, and then you got home and that guy's family bought him a puppy. That puppy is now yours. That's your payment for saving that guy's life.
Okay.
It's
Is it at your discretion?
I guess
it is held as a sacred kind of vow in this world.
So maybe you have to like hold it in truth, both of you, right?
Right.
Okay.
So if you try to rip them off, you're not.
Well, we find out what happens when you try to rip somebody off.
It's gonna go bad.
Apparently, destiny gets in the way.
Right. So there's a lot of a lot of the people in the Calanthe storyline in particular, and the Ciri storyline too, because there's basically the same one, are destined. They have like important and serious destinies, right? That these laws and things apply very strictly to. And so when Calanthe's daughter, Ciri's mother, is saved by this knight, right? Is that how this goes?
No, so her... Oh, God, okay. Ciri's mother, Calanthe's daughter. So Ciri, the main character girl, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother's dad was saved by Dooney on the battlefield. And then...
Oh, right.
And then died anyway.
Well, yeah, later.
Later.
Okay.
Before all this happened, because the grandmother is in the middle of courting Skelligan King at this point in time, I guess.
Right.
Or Duke or something. So a guy from another kingdom.
Right.
Which is important later, because in this, he forces the guy that ends up being the grandfather to Ciri later, forces the law of surprise to get adhered to. So, did we explain what the surprise was?
Also, in this case, the thing that he had but did not know was the daughter was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Right. His wife,
the mother was pregnant,
yeah.
And so the daughter.
So the daughter is his reward.
Okay.
Now that can kind of. Here's where things get messy. There was a 30-year time jump, meaning this guy who claimed the law of surprise is probably around 50, marrying a 14-year-old.
Okay.
Now,
I did that math three
Wait,
times.
Who are you talking about here, Geralt or Dooney?
Dooney. If the timelines all line up with what they say, I went back because Dooney saves the king's life during the war, the Elven War that's happening
in
before
that scene.
Yennefer. Well, like right around the time of Yennefer, before the time jump.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Dooney would be like 50, and she would be, I think they say her exact age. It was like 14 or something. Not good.
I mean, that's medieval storylines for you.
Yeah, there definitely is some of that happening here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just a little bit of that. So then everyone tries to kill Dooney for some reason.
Well, because he's a monster, I guess.
He's a monster.
Like he literally looks like he wears his full armor and his helmet that obscures his face the whole time. And when they say like, "Hey, it's rude to wear your helmet in front of the queen" or whatever, he says like, "Please don't make me take it off." And like, they make him take it off eventually, and now he looks like a monster. And then everyone's like, "Oh, well, this dude's a monster. Let's kill him." And the queen is like, "Sweet, let's kill him."
Yeah. She tries to. Okay, so she's the one that keeps trying to get around this law of surprise thing. And they do a good job of trying to tell you, like, this is the law of this universe, right?
Yeah.
Destiny says something, and the law of surprise is destiny. You can't get around it, or you pay the price. So Geralt steps in and saves who will be Ciri's dad, right?
Right.
From being murdered in this room. And then flippantly, because he doesn't believe in destiny, claims the law of surprise.
Right.
And guess what, Michael?
Ciri's mom was pregnant with Ciri at the time. Geralt didn't know that, I think, at the time.
No, he claims the law of surprise, and she throws up with morning sickness right there on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ciri is then at that moment in the show, and what you start to get here and where things are going, Ciri is then destined to be Geralt's kid.
Yeah, so they don't make it like, and again, I guess this is, a Dooney and Ciri's mom were like somewhat in love. They kind of allude to that. You don't ever really see them together other than this one scene, or this one episode. But Geralt is definitely like or seems to be destined to become some sort of a father figure to Ciri, because her grandmother, not exactly a great role model.
No.
And the uncle or whatever guy that she was like not marrying but was kind of with or whatever also didn't seem to be that great of a dude.
Well, he eventually tries to break the law of surprise later. He thinks that Ciri's his granddaughter, basically. Right? He raised her as his granddaughter, so.
Okay.
Anyway, all that was to explain that then over the next 6 episodes, they kind of slowly march forward this story of this southern Nilfgaard kingdom invading the world, and things in the world order of wizards and all that falling apart due to unknown reasons that I think are stories for season 2. And the slow march of these stories brings the timelines all together at this really cool moment where Geralt and Yennefer have this big fight, and then he, goes to stop abdicating his responsibility and go claim Ciri, and then you get back to the beginning of you get immediately back to the minutes before the beginning of the show.
Okay.
That was the cool part for me, having waded through and figured out the timelines and all that, and watching it all come together, and then being like, oh my goodness, we're
right back where we started.
10 minutes before the opening of the show, where everything goes to heck, right?
And then you see the castle get invaded, and all
you're
this
like,
stuff.
you're just like hoping for no reason because it can't happen, that things could.
You saw it already.
Yeah, you're just like, but Geralt's there. Geralt,
he could save him. He could save him.
5 feet away. Just go the other way.
Nope, he goes the other way down that hallway.
He goes the wrong way down a hallway, and that's how you get the whole show.
Well, not quite, because
no,
of the timeline
but
stuff,
that
but
whole
yeah.
And then
thread.
the timelines are all converged at that point, and you kind of end the first season on a pretty nice note, actually. And so that timeline thing, really, I understand why it's confusing. It confused me. I had to go back and like rewatch to make sure I understood stuff. And then
it definitely confused me as well.
But then when it all comes together, I loved it. I was like, oh, cool. He was there the whole time. Yeah,
it was good. The thing I wish they had just been upfront about the fact that they were doing a bunch of flashbacky stuff, and I think it would have made everyone's understanding of what was actually happening in the show better.
It would be easier to follow if you didn't have to catch in like 1 or 2 times before the hints start dropping that the queen's name was Calanthe, or that, these kingdoms, their name. It's hard to capture that information and process it, and then hear it in a side conversation.
Yeah, he's like walking through the tavern. You hear, "Did you hear Calanthe won her 77th battle?" And you're just like, "Who?" It's like out of your left channel of your speaker, or something. If you weren't listening to the whole conversation, you wouldn't know.
Well, there's the whole, she had a war with the elves, and so like if you caught in the first 2 scenes when they're in a banquet, when she talks about when she defeated the elves, then every time someone talks about their history with that war, you would know what timeline you were in.
Yeah.
Okay, you'd have a moment in time to anchor.
There's a lot of anchors if you can catch all the names. If you know that Scoia'tael is a thing you're going to hear 3 times in the show, but it's actual information you could use to anchor yourself in a timeline.
Right.
Yeah. And the elf stuff, I hope, is something they come back to because
Right.
it plays a way bigger part in the games.
Yeah.
And there's like a ton of stuff there. Like people in this, if you couldn't tell by the fact that they didn't like Geralt and monsters, how do you think they feel about elves? Like
they literally murdered them all, and there's a gigantic field of their bones.
it's like straight up the purge on the elves. So
Okay.
it's not good.
There was a little bit of
similarly
ethnic
not having a
cleansing.
good time.
It was not.
Yeah, not even a little bit, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, it was treated
bad
as such in the show, and Geralt, being a disliked person by most people, was sympathetic to the elves, and so you kind of get that perspective first of like, oh man, all these people were murdered for no reason. That's not good.
Yeah. Like these people were murdered, and they're like, oh, they were elves. They're not people.
Yeah,
and you're just like, oh, okay, dude. Whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, but they handle it well. It's not like
it's
you're
good.
supposed to side that way.
Yeah, no, and there's a ton of that in the games and the books as well. Like the races don't get along in this, classic fantasy literature style. Like, hey, the dwarves and the elves and the humans don't get along.
Yeah, I liked the dragon stuff. I'm sad
that whole episode was cool.
That whole episode was very good.
It was the most like random exploit of the week of the show.
I think
a
big bearing on the show though, because
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? It sets Yennefer on her path. I don't know. Yeah. I really liked it.
It was
without
good.
Going into episode by episode recap, that's kind of the gist of it. I don't know, Michael. How did we do?
I mean, I am just as, if not more, intrigued to watch it at this point. So I'd say you did pretty good.
Oh man, the episode with the djinn.
Okay, that whole djinn thing is actually like a plot from one of the books, and they do the same thing in the book they did in the show. It's infuriating, but great. Don't you want to know?
I do. I would love to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never say. It was so infuriating in the
a djinn, Michael, like a genie.
Yeah, DJINN.
Yes, yeah.
I can never tell how hard it is to figure out what people are saying through the internet sometimes when I hear the
like a genie, right?
Yeah.
And
so obviously there's 3 wishes. And lay the groundwork here. The first wish, Geralt wishes for some peace and quiet, and so the genie chokes his friend that's a minstrel.
He like literally tries to murder him.
Like magic choking, which is literally going to kill him.
Yeah, and they do it in such a way that it is the whole idea is that like the genie is granting the wishes to its master, right? And someone else is trying to usurp the masterness of the genie.
Yep.
But it turns out that Geralt has actually been the master this whole time, and he didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like that's why Geralt's like, I just wish I could have some peace and quiet. And then like, he finds out that his friend has this magic sickness that's choking him. It's like, whose fault was this, Geralt? He didn't know at the time. Right?
Do you think maybe I was just enamored by the show and watching fantasy like that done so well? But like, do you think that most of the episodes have like a surprise?
So a lot of these episodes,
right? That's a surprise,
right? Yeah. So a lot of these stories kind of are written by this author as short story collections. And so it's like a collection of short stories of like, this is the tales of Geralt as he went off and did stuff. He literally had the one where he goes to that ball and the knight is there and the law of surprise happens. He has that one where the genie happens. He has that one where he goes and does the dragon hunt. Like all of these are stories that happened in these books that are told discreetly and not in an attempt to like weave them together into an overall narrative at this point.
Got it.
Later, then they start a narrative after all this stuff.
Well, Michael, if you don't remember anything else, don't walk around in Temeria at night.
If games tell me anything, don't go to Temeria, just period, man. A lot of bad stuff happens in Temeria.
Yeah. Man. How many Northern Kingdoms can you name?
Ooh, do you want to play that game with me?
No.
Oh, no.
I will lose because I can name 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, because there's Temeria, there's Redania,
Yeah.
it's Sintra, but
Yeah.
it's like kind of dead by the time really things start. Nilfgaard is the Southern Kingdom. Oh, there's Kedwin.
Yep, Kedwin. Mm-hmm.
Skellige
Skellige counts in the show, but not the games.
Yeah, Skellige is an island, so it's not clear if they're like in the same area. And then kind of like all of those little kingdoms are up above, and then like basically down below all of them is Nilfgaard.
Yeah, look, you have a map. There you go. All right. Well, Michael says we did a good job, so maybe we leave it.
That
there.
show is fun.
I
hope they one day
surprisingly
get
fun.
to make more of it.
They've already filmed. They started filming.
Well, it's on pause.
Oh,
But yes, this show was so successful, they would be fools not to continue it.
One would imagine once the pause is released, they will continue filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You can't fault them for that. So
No, totally.
all right. Well, now that we've gotten that off our chests in the 40 minutes instead of 20.
That's right on brand for us.
Yeah. Michael, you finished something, and I want to hear whether or not the ending is what you hoped for.
So the ending was not what I expected in the best way.
Oh, good. Okay, clue us in. What are we talking about?
So I don't want to spoil it because it's a really good moment. The way that it wraps up. Yes. So we're talking about Ori and the Will of the Wisps,
yes.
Which I finished over the weekend.
Okay, so it's like a twist ending then.
Yeah. I totally did not expect it, and it makes you realize that there was an idea for the story that both games told that must have been set from the very beginning. So this game does pick up where the last one left off, pretty close in time to where the last one left off, but it feels like it's going to be its own story until you get to the very end and you realize that they have very cleverly tied the entire both storylines together.
Rather than it just being a straight sequel. Oh, remember all that stuff in the first one?
Right. Rather than it being story from beginning to end, and then the characters pick back up and story from beginning to end, which it is. It is its own story from beginning to end, but the way that it wraps up at the very end, it's bigger than just the one game. It encompasses both games.
Okay.
Do you feel like there could be a third Ori game after this?
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
Yes, I feel like there could be another game after this.
There could be another Ori universe game after this. Does that let you off the hook?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, probably.
Okay.
Well, from everything I've seen, this game has been immensely popular and well liked. So
it came out at kind of a time.
I really liked it.
It came out at kind of a time when the fan base that loved it was waiting for it. It's gonna be good. I think it might be on Game Pass.
It is, yeah.
I believe it is on Game Pass.
And a lot of people have a little bit more time on their hands.
Yeah, and it doesn't, it's not a game that's going to take you very long. I think my final play time was 16 and a half hours, maybe just a little shy of that.
And did you do everything 100%, basically?
Yeah. So I explored 100% of the map and got all the power-ups and did all the side quests. And
okay. 16 hours feels like a pretty decent amount of time for one of these type of games, these Metroidvania type fighting games. I don't know.
Yeah, so if you're, stuck inside for a weekend and want to really dive into something, you could finish it in a solid weekend or a long weekend.
Nice.
So yes, would definitely recommend. Would definitely go back from the beginning and play all the way back through both of them.
Would you 100% it again, or would you just jump through?
I don't know.
I'm at a point here, and I need some advice. Maybe, Michael, since you've now completed this game, I would really like to just finish Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
But I really like Jedi Fallen Order. And it has a map where it tells you that you're missing things.
Oh, yeah. See, that would be the point at which I'd be like, well, I got to go get these things because I miss them.
Yeah, but I'm
Andrew,
done.
Are the things that you're missing just freaking ponchos and colors for your lightsaber and a piece of a piece that makes your lightsaber look slightly different but has no mechanical effect whatsoever?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's a yes is the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm. There are on each planet there are on each planet about 5 secret things you need to find in order to upgrade your character. Actually, there's like little things you have to find, and you're like, oh, you get more life for this, you know. But beyond that, the cosmetics, I guess. But there's an achievement for getting all the ponchos.
Ooh, see that is where I have learned to quiet the completionist in me is achievements.
Yep. I eventually
I'll do what I need to do to 100% a game, but that doesn't necessarily mean I need 100% of the achievements.
Especially when some games do the like, we have an achievement for you beating this game in 4 hours. We have an achievement for you beating this game without dying.
Yeah,
we have an achievement for you beating this game on the mode where you can't die. It's like, no thanks.
All 3 of those are achievements in the new Ori game.
Oh Christ!
And I was like, I was
making that up.
I was like, I don't need those. I am content to have played this game all the way through without those.
There's always a part of me that will be the guy. I think I've told this story once before on this podcast that played Assassin's Creed 1 and got 99 out of 100 Templars.
Oh.
And then went back immediately after beating Assassin's Creed 1 and 100%ed it again just to get that last one.
What? I don't have any words for that, man. I can't. I can't care that much. It's like, I played the game. I got it.
I know.
If there's some secret thing that you unlock or whatever, I go look it up on YouTube. Like, so here's a great example of this. You know those Batman Arkham games? Great games, right?
Yeah.
Those are super fun. Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and what was the Origins, and then Arkham Knight, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. So Arkham
That's the
Knight
one that got a lot of flack.
Arkham Knight has a different ending if you do all of the Riddler trophy stuff. And the Riddler trophies are like a bunch of puzzles scattered goddamn everywhere, all over the game. And it's like, oh, you need a little upgrade you didn't have when you come here. You got to come all the way back into this dungeon and find like this one corner. So now you can do that. Now that you have the like upgraded super duper Batarang, you can open this chest so you can get this one little trophy. That's it.
Yep.
No, I will not, sir. And so I went to YouTube and I watched that other ending after I beat the game because I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this again. I'm not. It's like, oh, go beat all of these bosses and find all these Riddler trophies and you can see the real ending. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Uninstalled.
Part of me is very happy that almost all the chests in the game that I'm missing are just cosmetics. I think that means I can push through to the end.
If you're enjoying it, you should get to the end. I think you will probably really like how it goes. I suspect.
Yeah.
'Cause I assume you're having a good time, right?
I am, and it's starting to wear on me. I got I got to Dathomir, for those people that are listening and know what I'm talking about, for real, and it's long. Just kind of like, I don't have the energy to go find the chest on this level. Maybe I'll come back.
Yeah.
So, we're pushing on.
Did you finally get the souls thing where you're like, oh, I'm like good at this game now?
Oh yeah, Yep. There's definitely I see a bunch of those types of enemies. I know what to do. Jump and then ground pound, and then I just did a boss fight against a gigantic bat.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I only used about half my health to do it. And like boss fights in general, a Souls game, not easy. You know,
have you one shot a boss yet? That's like a great feeling.
I don't think you can.
Okay.
The fights, the boss fights. So there's like hidden mini type of bosses. And even then, you can't really one-shot them. You can kind of cheese them a little bit more than the regular boss fights. They're very not scripted. Scripted's the wrong. Well, they are scripted. A lot of the boss fights, if you get to certain health points, then the fight changes.
Mm-hmm.
Or a scene will happen or something.
Yeah, that's very common.
But based on your attack speed and stuff, and the moves that the bosses do, there's really only an opening to do X amount of damage per cycle the boss has.
I guess I don't mean like one shot as in kill it in one hit. I mean do it without dying.
Oh, then yeah, I took out this bat in one go without dying.
I think the level of victory in a Souls game, to me anyway, is like, did I survive? And if you survive and not die, that's usually like, yeah.
Yeah, so the last two bosses I've done without dying, and the one before this bat, there's like an ending scene to the fight, and it happened while she still had a tick of life left on her, so I thought the fight wasn't over, but then I was flashing red and had no more energy to put back into my health bar, and was like, well, if this fight doesn't end, if I don't land this hit after this move, I'm done for. But like I said, a lot of the fights are scripted. So if you get close to landing the hit while she's within that tick, a cutscene takes over. And so I thought I died. Because she does this character did this like barrel charging, like shoulder check thing. And you're supposed to swing, like a dodge swing. You like tap B to dodge and then swing at their back as they run by. And I thought I missed it because it hit a cutscene. I was like, respawn time, oh well. And then it jumped into a cutscene, and I used force push to shove her off of a gigantic tree.
Well, hey.
Solid.
Yeah. The other great thing in those games is the feeling of getting to the very end of a fight and getting too greedy and being like, it's only 2 more hits, I can do this, mash, and then just getting
pummeled,
utterly punished for your hubris.
Yeah. That's like when you're early in the fight and you're trying to learn the...
Oh, I'm so close to killing him. Just like, get 2 more hits in right here.
Can I get in 2 heavy strikes, or can I only get in 1 heavy strike and a quick strike? You know what I mean? Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of this ring a bell for the messenger?
Nope. You know what rings a bell for the messenger is the having to backtrack to find things that you didn't get.
Oh no. Yeah, are they gated because of abilities?
No, so I'll set you up. After I finished Ori over the weekend, I decided to dive into something else, which was the messenger.
You broke. This is again breaking the rules, you guys.
That game's been out for a while.
No, but because he did it because he backed a Kickstarter, which we said
yes,
maybe you shouldn't do.
So I can touch on that too. So the messenger, made by Sabotage Studios, has been out for about 1.5 years now. August of 2018.
It was free on Epic for a bunch of people.
Yes, and I think all of us picked it up when it was free.
Yep.
But they just launched a Kickstarter this past week for a new, very Chrono Trigger inspired RPG game called Sea of Stars. So that looked really good. Their Kickstarter model seems to be of the same vein as Wonderful 101, where they've started developing a lot of the game, and the Kickstarter is really to drive incentives and see what kind of interest there is for them to actually complete the project. So it feels like it's not totally relying on the Kickstarter to fund it, but they were more relying on the Kickstarter to make sure that enough people wanted to see them put this out that it would be worth dumping the next couple of years into.
Well, I think Wonderful 101 is a little different than that. Isn't it coming out in like a month?
Right, so that had already been released. It had already been made.
Yeah. They were just...
Oh, true, because that's a porting situation too, whereas this is like a brand new thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure my Kickstarter for Wonderful 101 was basically a pre-order.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was more alluding to the fact that they're not completely reliant on the Kickstarter to fund the project.
Which is good, because no one makes enough money in a Kickstarter to actually make a video game.
Right. Yeah, certainly not in the timelines that they optimistically project. But yeah, so I dove into The Messenger, which is a throwback to old school. I guess it's a dual throwback to both 8-bit and 16-bit platformers. So if you think original Nintendo style
Super Star Wars?
No.
No, more like the original Castlevania.
Oh.
Yeah, or like Ninja Gaiden.
Game.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden is actually probably the best. They, thank goodness, do not make it as brutally difficult in terms of pixel perfect jumping and timing as those old games were.
That damn bird.
Oh yeah, every time, right? And one of the moves in this game is the ability to actually recover when you get hit in the air by something like that.
Oh,
that sounds so good.
Oh, or just don't put the thing in that can hit you in midair. That's like telling you, we did this to annoy you, basically.
Yeah, so the movement feels much more polished, but the graphical style is definitely that same 8-bit feel. So you start out the game as a ninja, and your village is attacked by demons, and you take off to confront the demon, and right before you can start fighting it, the prophesied hero shows up and defeats the demon and hands you a scroll and tells you need to get this scroll to the top of the mountain. And so you realize that your goal here is not defeating the demon, it is being the messenger. So you set off, and it's super linear to start with, in the same way that all those old school games were, where you go through a level, you beat the boss, you finish the level, and it takes you into the new one, and there's no way to go back. It's, you're always moving forward to whatever the next level is. And then you get to what you think is the last level, but which really turns out to be the halfway point in the story. And you realize that there's a whole lot more going on here than you thought. So there's a society of monks who you are delivering your message to, and one of them has been the shopkeeper who has been selling you upgrades and giving you advice throughout your journey. And they basically live outside of time, and you learn that you have to go back to all of these places that you have visited, and you can jump backwards and forwards in time. And the difference is The cool decision that they made is that the forward in time era is all done in 16-bit.
Yeah, so you can like switch between 8 and 16-bit
based on where you are in the timeline.
Right. So there are you go through the all the levels the first time, just a straight play, and you as you're playing through, you see areas that are like, I should be able to get there, but I clearly can't. There must be something that happens later in the game that allows me to, break through this barrier. And it turns out that what that is the second time around, a whole bunch of portals of varying types get dropped everywhere, and they let you jump back and forth, and the landscape changes with the 500-year jump that you're making into the future.
500 years. That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, you'd think graphics would be better 500 years in the future.
Yeah, exactly. They get 8 more bits.
It's a lot of bits, man.
We've done a lot more bits than that in a shorter time.
It's not our universe.
It's only one game.
They got demons to fight.
Yeah. They couldn't develop those bits the whole time. They had to fight those demons.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there, I have discovered there is, and I don't know if this is meant to be intentional, there is one way to cheese one of the mechanics a little bit. You have a little companion whose only job it is to resurrect you at your last save point when you die, which happens frequently, as he repeatedly informs you.
Are you saying that because maybe he does it too much?
Well, no, it's like every time you die, he shows up on the screen with some pithy little quip about, I've saved you 75 times now, don't you? Maybe you're doing it on purpose at this point.
It's just a way to stick a death counter in your face and make you feel bad about yourself.
Sure. But every time you are brought back by him, he follows you around for 30 seconds or so, and he steals any of the crystals that you collect to use as currency. You don't lose anything that you gained before you died, but anything new you gain in that window, he steals as repayment for bringing you back. But at some point, I realized if he's just going to bring me back at the last time I saved the game, I can exit out to the menu and jump right back into the game at the save point, and he doesn't reload.
Could you... I guess that saves you time then instead of just standing still.
Yeah, and you also get to it keeps you from losing money that you could use to more quickly purchase skill tree upgrades.
Cheese it, man.
God, yeah, dude, it's in the game. It counts. Who cares?
Yeah. So I've been doing that. Probably the best thing about the whole game, is the shopkeeper. So he's one of the monks. He's kind of lives outside time, kind of an all-knowing figure, but he is incredibly snarky.
So like if Doctor Strange owned a store.
More sarcastic.
Oh, we're like Tony Stark level here.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, so there's like one of your options in the shop is, do you have any good stories? And he'll tell you a story that may or may not have a moral, just sort of riff on different things. But he makes fun of you, he makes fun of the situations that you and he are in. He makes fun of the whole genre of games in general.
Nice.
It really makes it worthwhile.
So I think you feel good about your Sea of Stars investment. We're going to call it an investment because it's not FDIC insured.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I think that wraps up our episode 200. We should say thank you again for everybody that's listening this long with us. It's fantastic. I very much enjoy doing this with all of you. We all do. I know. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands. Stay inside if you can. And
Yeah.
hey,
And don't go to the beach. They're closed now.
Yeah, don't do that. Probably shouldn't. They say hiking's fine, but try and keep away from people. I know Michael had a bad experience trying to hike, so
The trails are closed now.
oh,
Yeah, they've been closing a lot of them just because we can't have
too many
anything
people.
nice.
Well,
Can't have nice things.
everybody's looking for something to do. I get it.
Yep.
Do your best. We're all here. We're here to listen to your emails if you want to send them. podcast@wewergamers.com. You can hit us up on social media too. Any of the social medias I think that people in their 30s would know about, we would be on.
So don't look for us on TikTok.
I can't. I can barely Instagram.
Yeah, we're not on Mastodon either. Don't look there.
Okay. See? This is okay. Think
Or
of our
Snapchat.
age, those social medias. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All podcast apps. Leave us a rating if you get a chance. It's really nice to know that we are a 5-star podcast. I think we are. We'll see. And podcast@wewergamers.com. Tell us what you guys are playing while you're stuck at home.
Yeah, we would love to hear.